7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Six women, one suborbital rocket, 11 minutes that will reverberate through generations. Blue Origin's New Shepard NS-31 is more than just a commercial spaceflight. It's a declaration of possibility. From Aisha Bowe's STEM advocacy to Katy Perry's interstellar inspiration, the crew reflects a multidimensional global sisterhood. As the rocket lifts off, so too do the dreams of millions of girls watching from Earth. But is this moment the pinnacle of progress, or just the beginning of a much-needed transformation in space history? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. Blue Origin's NS-31 mission just sent an all-female crew soaring past the Kármán line, marking the first such flight since Valentina Tereshkova's solo journey in 1963. With artists, scientists and journalists on board, it's not just about space, it's about rewriting history. But what does this mission mean for the future of women in the cosmos? Forget Apollo. The crew members of New Shepard radiate Artemis energy. The NS-31 mission isn't just carrying 6 women to space. It's carrying the hopes of a more inclusive cosmos.
Okay, I'm going to show you the capsule that we have been training in for the last few days. Here I am. Seat number 2. This is my call name, Feather. Here on the New Shepard. I think I'm gonna sing. I'm gonna sing a little bit. I gotta sing in space. And these are all of my astronaut girly friends. We are the Taken Up Space crew. And of course, that saying has had a different meaning to it, but I think it's now the first time ever that it's a double entendre. I do believe this. I'm not going to say I can't believe I'm here. I do believe this because I think that believing your dreams and saying that is actually how you make your dreams come true.
Among them is Aisha Bowe, a NASA-trained rocket scientist and STEM entrepreneur who has shattered both gravitational and societal ceilings. Amanda Nguyen, a bioastronautics researcher and civil rights icon, brings resilience to the stratosphere. Lauren Sanchez, a pilot and journalist, shows that storytelling and aviation can co-pilot change. Gayle King, beloved TV journalist, takes her legacy beyond the newsroom and into the orbit. Pop superstar Katy Perry turns stardom into propulsion, inspiring young dreamers worldwide. And Carrie Ann Flynn, filmmaker and activist, proves that space needs storytellers just as much as scientists. Together, these women redefine who gets to belong in space and what space can mean for all of us. The road to NS-31 was paved with perseverance and patriarchy. Enter Sally Ride, the first American woman in space who cracked the cockpit of the space shuttle in 1983. She wasn't just navigating zero gravity, she was navigating zero clue from the men around her. When NASA engineers asked how many tampons she'd need for a week-long mission, they suggested 100. 100 tampons for 7 days. Ride reportedly laughed it off, suggesting they cut that number in half with no problem at all. Behind the absurdity was a deeper truth. NASA had built rockets to orbit the Earth, but hadn't yet figured out how to support a woman astronaut. But ignorance in space can kill, and women had to demand their place not only on rockets, but in the rule books.
As a little girl, I always wanted to fly in space. Amazingly enough, that dream came true. It took years of hard work to achieve that dream, but the dream itself never left my mind. I know that through your hard work and your dedication, that all of you can achieve your dreams too. And I want to leave you with just one story. This is a true story. This was shortly after my first flight, and to give those of you in the room who may not remember my first flight, just a little bit of the background. It was a big deal. There was a lot of publicity surrounding that flight, and it was all focused on me being the first American woman to go up into space. So there was a lot of press coverage of this, a lot of TV coverage, a lot of newspaper coverage, and you would not have known that there were other astronauts on that crew. Well, about a month after we landed, I was having lunch with a friend in New York City, in a restaurant in New York City, and this woman that neither of us had ever met before came up to the table, introduced herself to me, asked if she could join us. We said, okay, fine. And she sat down and said, I have to tell you this story. And we're saying, fine. And her story was this. She had a 5-year-old son. And her 5-year-old son had just discovered space. And he decided that the most important thing in his life was the space program, the space shuttle, and the thing that he really wanted to be when he grew up was an astronaut. He was totally obsessed with the space program. The flight coming up was going to be my first flight. He read everything about it. He knew he was watching every press report. He was watching the whole thing. He had his mother buy him a spacesuit so that he could watch it appropriately when the launch came. The day of the launch came. We had an early morning launch. Poor mother had to get up at 4:30 in the morning to turn on the television set so that he could watch a couple hours of preparation for us. He sat there transfixed through the countdown, watched us launch. Everybody cheered. His mother went off to do other things. He stayed in the living room. She came back in about 5 or 10 minutes later and found her son on the floor in the middle of the living room crying. He was just sobbing. And her immediate thought was that something had happened with the space shuttle. She asked, what was wrong? Is everything okay? And he said, no, it's fine. They're doing fine. The launch went very well. And she said, well, what's the problem then? And he looked up at her with tears rolling down his face and said, Mommy, can little boys grow up to be astronauts too? Thank you very much.
Yet, the trajectory was set. Katherine Sullivan followed, becoming the first American woman to conduct a spacewalk in 1984. Peggy Whitson would eventually spend a staggering 665 days in space, more than any other American. Christina Koch and Jessica Meyer made headlines with the first all-female spacewalk in 2019. NASA's Artemis program now aims to land the first woman on the moon. The message is clear. Women aren't anomalies in aerospace. They're architects of its future.
Greetings to all of you. I'm Sunny Williams, commander of the International Space Station, orbiting 250 miles above the Earth. By the time you see this message, I will be back on Earth, but it's a pleasure to spend a few moments with you on this notable day. Congratulations to the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi, the Indian Department of Science and Technology, and the Indo-U.S. S&T Forum for this landmark event focusing on recruiting and promoting women professionals in science, engineering, and technical fields. In order to meet the challenges that our fragile planet faces, it is essential that we make full use of the brainpower and talents of women scientists in the United States, India, and around the world. My best wishes to all of you for a continued success in this endeavor.
Even as doors open for women, they often open just wide enough for white women to slip through. For women of color, the barrier wasn't just gender. It was race, class, and institutional bias all orbiting at once. Long before rights suited up, Black women were already working behind the scenes, performing the complex math that sent rockets into orbit. They were the hidden figures. Katherine Johnson, born in 1918 in segregated West Virginia, had a mind that orbited genius. She calculated the trajectory for Alan Shepard's suborbital flight and was personally requested by John Glenn to verify orbital equations before his mission. Glenn didn't trust the new computers, not until Johnson checked the math. Her story, immortalized in the film Hidden Figures, finally gave long overdue credit to a black woman who helped America win the space race. Mary Jackson became NASA's first black female engineer, fighting segregation in science from the inside out. Dorothy Vaughan, meanwhile, led a segregated team of black women mathematicians and taught herself Fortran to stay ahead of the technological curve, pioneering NASA's digital evolution. Annie Easley would later contribute software critical to rocket launches while advocating for workplace equity. These weren't just brilliant minds, they were revolutionaries. They performed miracles of computation with slide rules and chalkboards while walking daily through the indignity of colored computers, which meant computers for colored people, those signs and segregated bathrooms. They built space programs that wouldn't even list them in the credits. And yet, they stayed. They fought. They launched a future where girls of every color could look up and see themselves among the stars. Today's all-female flight aboard NS-31 is built on the scaffolding of those battles. There are several women of Indian origin who've made significant contributions to NASA, which included Kalpana Chawla, an astronaut who was part of the Space Shuttle Columbia and became the first Indian-born woman in space. Sunita Williams has been a long-time astronaut and has flown multiple missions. In fact, there are interns who've been working on the Artemis program, like Pratima Roy and Pooja Roy. Sunny Williams, an American astronaut who retired as a US Navy officer, has broken records when it comes to space. Recently, she was in news because of the Boeing crew flight test and her extended stay because of technical problems aboard the ISS, that's the International Space Station, for more than 9 months. She is one of the most experienced spacewalkers in the world. Sian Proctor in 2021 became the first black woman to pilot a spacecraft on SpaceX's Inspiration 4 mission, proving that commercial spaceflight could broaden the aperture of inclusion. Jessica Watkins spent over 5 months aboard the International Space Station in the year 2022, becoming the first black woman on an extended mission there. Representation isn't symbolic, it's structural. It means diverse minds solving problems on Mars missions. It means designing spacesuits that would fit women properly, which NASA failed to do in 2019, delaying a spacewalk. It means seats at the console and the command deck. Despite the gains, disparities persist. Black women and other women of color remain underrepresented in aerospace engineering, physics, and astronaut corps. The Artemis program aims to put the first woman and the first person of color on the moon, but we must ensure they're not just passengers in someone else's dream. Equity isn't achieved by sending one woman to the moon. It's achieved when space is designed with everyone in mind, when little girls don't just dream of stars, but have the math teachers, have the funding and mentorship to get there. Blue Origin's NS-31 flight lasted only 14 minutes, but it carried the weight of centuries. From the segregated hallways of NASA to the global headlines of a suborbital joyride, the journey of women in space is both awe-inspiring and unfinished. When the New Shepard landed, it didn't just bring back 6 women. It returned with the echoes of Sally Ride's laughter, the unheralded triumph of Katherine Johnson's calculations, and the legacy of every woman who looked up at the sky and saw not a ceiling, but a launch pad. The stars were never the limit. They were the beginning. Thank you for watching Statecraft.